excited. It's one of the things on
That
my
I look
bucket list.
forward.
So this is in June. That's a big trip for you.
August, August, August.
August, sorry.
But we're going. We normally fly if we're coming to the North America. We normally go up to Europe and then down to so up and then across to the States. This time I'm flying Singapore to San Francisco. So I'm going the
Ooh,
opposite direction. So I'm excited about that.
that'll be a fun
Wow.
shift.
Yeah, so excited.
And may I ask what the conference is about?
It's a
Or
money conference.
oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you're
you
Tell
can.
us
kind of in
more.
my neck of the woods then, because I'm on
Am
the
I
west.
close? Yeah, close to. Am I close to you because you're on the West Coast?
Yes. Yeah. Little ways, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's that's exciting.
How was your guys' week? How are you feeling?
Interesting. Is Patricia? Is she joining us today?
Pam? Yeah,
Pam,
I
I mean
believe so.
Pam. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Just I don't know. Interesting energies again. Kind of a lot. I felt a lot heady around the heady stuff this week. So
Oh,
today
there was.
we have Easter Friday and Easter Monday as holidays. So I
Us here
spent
too.
most of the day resting today.
Mm.
Yeah.
This felt like very in the masculine for me. I don't know if you guys felt that too, but
And I just felt like my head was not part of my body this week.
Well,
But the
it's
easiest way to describe it because it just felt like it was all here. Even though I'd been to yoga and I'd grounded, it wasn't like this discombobulated snow globe all over the show kind of energy. It was just very weird. And so I've learned that when it feels like that, just sit with it and it'll do what it has to do. It'll reveal itself.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say is kind of that, you know, the tools that we normally use may not always work anymore. Like we're in this new energy, and then it's like being okay to sit with that energy, just to sit in it and not think there's something wrong with you, but that it's just you're processing, you're moving through something and be
I
okay
think
with it, right?
yeah, it's also integration. I think it's quite a strong integrating energy as well.
Mhm.
And again, I think that what you're saying, Janice, is so important. We don't have to go here and try and process it to try and figure it out. There's nothing
Mhm.
to be figured out. There's just to be allowing.
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's kind of what came up like for me this morning, like personally, it was like there was stuff going on, but it's again just sitting with it and feeling through it and transmuting it into instead of because I know my first reaction was like, I just need to shift this energy this morning. And that's or trying, I kept saying, I'm trying to figure out how to shift this energy, but it's like you said, it's like going back to that, what is the feeling, sitting with it, allowing it to process and feel, because that's how we really truly release it, as opposed to like what I was doing is like try to push it aside and shift the energy and get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because when it's uncomfortable, it's like, I don't want this. This is not in the plan today. Can we just
Mhm.
get rid of it for now? What do I need to do to get rid of this? I love
Exactly.
that.
And
Oh,
it was so interesting because there were no feelings. I didn't have any, it was just this energy around my head. I'm going, okay, whatever you are, you're going to reveal yourself. Um,
Mhm.
and just sat with that. And also very contrasting energies this week from, particularly in the one day I went to a not-for-profit, then I saw a woman who runs a yoga studio whose energy, well, she talks a lot about being in the feminine. I found her energy very masculine. So that was quite an interesting contrast. And then going to go and work with a beautiful healer who's setting up an incredible practice from the divine feminine. So I had this contrasting energy, very transactional, confusing for me in terms of what I was picking up, and then this beautiful, gentle space, all in one day. Okay, we are being shown contrast as well. It's not
yeah.
just about integration, we're also being shown how contrasting these energies are around us in order to discern what we connect with and what we don't connect with.
Hmm. Yeah. And I feel that everybody is processing it in different ways at different times. Like it's almost like this ping pong energy. There isn't as much consistency as there used to be, where people will be like, yeah, I'm feeling that too. It's like, well, I kind of the opposite. And I kind of had movements forward this week with some kind of, epiphanies and enlightenment. It's like, oh, light bulbs going off. And that's always so much fun to be at. But it came from several weeks of like, what's going on? I don't understand. And having to sit in a very, very uncomfortable
Yeah.
spot, um, and be authentic about that. Like
Mhm.
just be, you don't, especially in our line of work, as mentors, coaches, putting stuff out, it's like, well, you know what? You guys, like, I'm kind of sitting right now in this great pause.
Mhm.
And that's
You
what it feels
always-
like, the great pause and sitting in the dark. But it's funny because I pulled a card for us today, and it's the Mystic card.
Oh,
And
wow.
it is from the deck, the Wild Unknown Archetypes, which is an incredibly powerful deck. But the Mystic is just that. It talks about the Mystic being the one that sits in the dark, like that Shiva swallows the poison to save the world, right? The swallows the poison and then transmutes it back into light. But the mystic is the one in the communities that will sit in the darkness and harness that latent energy that is there and bring it into the light. And I think every single person on earth is going through a mystic initiation.
Mhm.
So interesting when you used the example of ping pong. What came into my mind straight away was a pinball machine. It's like we're in the spiritual pinball machine, trying to just navigate our way through the way, and kind of
Yeah.
catching a little bit of light there and a little bit of light there, and it just is. It's just, I think, I don't know if we've dealt with it. I think we have spoken about it before, the allowing and the receiving, and it's a different energy. Being Easter Friday, have you ladies watched the movie Mary Magdalene from 2019?
Mhm.
No,
Oh,
I've read books on her, but not the movie.
my word. It's an absolutely beautiful
Oh, wait a
movie.
second. I did watch that. Yes, I did. A
Absolutely
while
beautiful.
ago.
Yeah, and at the end I watched it again today because it was Easter Friday. And at the end of the movie, they talk about 2016, the Pope granted Mary Magdalene as apostle status because she was the first one who saw Master Jesus after he rose out of the tomb. And I can't remember who it was, one emperor at 529 AD, branded her as the prostitute. So the whole way the divine feminine energy has just been manipulated, particularly around her archetype. And just how beautiful her energy is in that, the way it's portrayed in how much of a beautiful, compassionate, nurturing healer she was. And yeah, so I connected with that energy of Mary Magdalene today,
Mm,
talking about archetype.
11:11 here, just saying.
I feel like there's been a lot of like feminine energies coming in for people right now. Not just like we've talked about the feminine shift and people taking that on, but like just in conversations with people, there's been a lot of that feminine energy that's being like people are channeling or connecting with, or that's showing up in healing and different things. Like it just seems interesting that, like you said, those things are showing up at the moment. I mean, obviously, like I said, we're having this feminine energy shift, so probably not really surprising, but
Yeah.
Yeah, and two is the number of the divine feminine. And then, of course, Venus has just come out of retrograde. So there's this incredible, almost burst, although she doesn't burst, but kind of burst of energy of the divine feminine. Burst, no, it's not bursting, it's birthing. This incredible birthing. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. And the maybe you talk about receiving and, accepting it, but it also feels like right now, letting go of any attachments. So that's a receiving in itself, but just allowing things to drift out of your life that are meant to drift out and not fight it. Don't cling to it. Just let things go and see what happens. Like try and stay curious and just be in that curiosity of, okay, like this is transitioning now. I'm open to what's coming. And that's the divine feminine of working with that, that openness that, okay, I'm going to trust. I'm going to hold on to the trust and the faith. That's a big one right now, too. Right.
And
Yeah.
it's linked back to what you were saying just a little bit earlier about the mystic. That's part of what the mystic's role is to hold. And it's the night is mystical. So it's not just about being the mystic, it's about embracing the mystical. It's
Mm.
so beautiful.
Well,
And
and
not
I've always said that
so
the mystic is somebody that desires to go deeper into the divine, right?
yeah.
Into
Mm.
Yep.
the unknown.
Yep.
There's also like with the whole full moon last week, and it's all about the transition and relationships, the pink moon, right? So I feel like this is also part of it. Like you said, in the last week, 2 weeks, I've had these things that are showing up. It's like, oh, this needs to happen, but it's a reoccurring story of, oh, this. And like you said, the contrast earlier. And, but what does the pink moon bring in? Is this transition and relationships and letting things go and that the need for change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's
Totally.
just, when you talk about the pink moon and visualizing a pink moon, there's just this beautiful, gentle energy that just settles around that is so calming, so nurturing, and so loving.
Mhm.
It's like sitting in a pink ball of cotton candy. Um, they, it's that kind of color. I don't mean the cotton candy, but the color that is cotton candy, and just feeling so held in that beautiful energy.
That, yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have a meditation on that somewhere. Oh, yeah. And, and I feel like, we've talked about AI so much, but I do feel like we're being given more time to be in the humanity part of living. If AI can take care of like even something as simple as your social media post or whatever, or like there's people using it for everything. Every day I'm somebody's coming up with a new idea of how to use it. And somebody said this week about using it as a personal stylist, and I'm like, huh, I'm all over that.
I like
I
it.
used Yeah, I
But
used it this week to work out cost of goods sold on a proposal and then have the proposal created and written for a client. And being able to see the value because of now really truly understanding what cost of sales is all about. Well, three accountants didn't teach me as much as AI taught me this
Right?
week. Cost of goods
yeah,
sold, value and pricing, even from that kind of practical point of view.
I had
Hmm.
it create a business plan for me at the beginning of the year. I told it what amount I wanted to make this year, and it created a business plan using all my programs. And it was like way more than I would have thought of. Like, I don't know how
Right?
to write a business plan. It's like, okay, this is fabulous. And it spit it out in like 20
5
seconds,
minutes,
right?
yeah.
Like, not even. So it was like, wow, that would have taken me weeks to create.
Hmm.
Talking
But
about
what it's
AI, sorry, talking about AI, have you guys seen the new enhancements to Canva?
Oh, I haven't experimented with it yet.
It codes literally in seconds. You just put in an instruction of what you want it to do. For example, like if you want to create a questionnaire as a lead magnet on your web page, you just write what the description is of the questionnaire that you want, and literally as you press the button in front of your eyes, you see it coding.
Oh,
And
Hmm.
out comes your questionnaire. It's like, what? And coming back to what you were saying, Janice, as well, is around creating the space for us to be in the connecting space as opposed to the doing space is what
Yes.
Yes.
is opening up. It's so powerful.
Yes, because now
I
instead of
missed you just now.
I'm
Hi.
glad I'm here. Sorry I was late. Computer problems this morning, and I'm like, what's going on?
It's part of
Here
that
I am.
disconnect. There's been a lot of electrical issues. Like even Zoom on Wednesday totally went down. So
yeah,
Oh, wow.
totally. Uh
So
um
I'm sorry that we missed that first little bit, but that's okay.
yeah, it's okay. We just anyway, so I was just saying how AI is doing all the tough jobs for us, and I was listening to someone who said make AI do the hardest job, because you usually give the hardest job to the smartest person. So get AI to do the hardest jobs for you, and then you get to do this,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You get to go for a walk. You get to go deeper into meditation. You get to go gather with women.
right.
That's what I did
We
last
get
night.
to connect with ourselves.
Yeah.
And be more in the humanity part. So I think that AI is really going to help us elevate our consciousness in allowing us to have that space.
That's
Less
awesome.
doing, more being.
Yeah.
Well,
The
well, I
key
know that it really helped me to put together, with my point of awareness, sort of a transcript to be able to help to teach it. Like very, very thorough. And I mean, I don't even know where it's going, but how it's come about with this has been pretty amazing. So you're right, it does make it easier, like especially with me working full time with people, right? You're talking 25 to 30 clients. Like I got to make use of my time in a valuable way so that I'm not burning out. So AI is helping me to do that so that I'm not able to, I'm still doing the work, but I'm also prioritizing. Like I'm making everything that I've been doing with Alana, with you guys, like that's the priority because that's where I want to go. That's where I want it to be. I want it to be global. I want it to be connecting on a larger scale, right? And this is all leading towards that. You know, meeting with Alana and the conversations and the alignment. Again, the universe is at work, and why not take advantage of these things that AI, there's a lot of people who are afraid of AI. There's a lot of people who are bitter, who have been in the industry of making books and editing and all of that sort of stuff. I know some personal friends that are struggling with that. And I know that that's their journey, and they'll come around at some point to see the value too. But it's like, if they don't, that's their journey.
Mm-hmm.
also
But
it's
I
also
can,
energy of redundancy, because I mean it's not like tech has just been all of a sudden presented itself. I mean this has been conversations and things that have been going on for many years.
long time, yes.
And the whole question is, how do I stay relevant on every level? How do I stay
Yes.
relevant spiritually? How do I stay relevant in the world? And for those who are coming up out of fear and all of those things, is because they haven't allowed, many of them haven't allowed themselves, not a judgment, it's an observation. Many people have not allowed themselves to learn to grow into the new spaces and therefore to be relevant. And that's
Exactly.
what we're dealing with right now is that how relevant are we on every level, particularly spiritually?
Yeah. Well, and going soul deep is something that AI isn't doing. That's what we will do. But and that creativity will open up even more,
Yes.
because that is something that we get to do, like writing and painting for me and creating music. And we're such in an expanded creation energy right now. I'm so excited to see what comes forward. But what if, here's something to think about. What if what we're doing right now in this conversation is feeding AI? And eventually, like we're being called to do this, and eventually, like people get the information that they want off AI,
Yeah.
right? Are we ready to be like, let go and say, okay, well, what's next for me then? And perhaps AI will figure out, you know, the money thing, the make money for survival thing for us. Like, who knows how this is going to unfold? Who knows what like it's changing so fast every day. Who knows where we're going to be in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months? All the programs that I created could possibly become redundant because they're on AI now, because they're on the internet. So it's like, okay, where is this taking us? And, staying that, like I said, the detachment from all of that, being able to let it go rather than clinging and going kicking and screaming, just being able to lean back and go, okay, well, this is my passion, this is my work, and I love what I do. Well, where are we going now?
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, having those conversations, just even around the letting go, the point of awareness method that I have, helping people to heal stuff. I mean, one of the conversations that I had with Alana was like the old school mentality, I got to protect it, right? That someone could steal it or alter it or whatever. And I'm like, why am I hanging on to that? I know why I'm hanging on to it. It's that element of ownership, no detachment. It's also, I have people who are around me going, you know what, you got to monetize, you got to protect, people can steal, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that is not being in the true essence of just allowing and going with the flow. And I built my thing and so on other things, right?
Exactly.
And expanding on it. So like, how is that any different?
Well,
Right?
and that's the thing, is that people feel like we can't, we have to hold into these things, but it's like every idea came from universal consciousness and the
Absolutely.
collective, every single thing. So there's no ownership of any of it. And we just received that message to bring that thing through at this point for the people to hear it from us, from our voice.
Yes.
So none of it is like, but like you said, there are no new ideas. Technically, there are no new ideas. Everything's been created once. It's been created already. And it's like, what if we just let go of that? Like you said, of like, does it matter? And like you said, Janice, well, AI's taken, like, literally, we talked about it last week about AI being like a life coach. I mean, I did some journaling with AI and one of the things that came up was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Like, it was a wound that I had that I was like, oh shit. Like, I didn't even know that was available, like that was there. And it was just through asking the questions. Sorry.
I giggled with a friend of mine the other day, and she was going, "Oh, you don't need a therapist," and I don't have one. But she said, "Oh, AI is becoming your therapist." I said, "No, just a sounding board." But coming back to what Janice was saying just now is that it opens up that energy of constant co-creation,
Yes.
continually evolving all the time. And we can't, this is, I think, one of the things that in the letting go is this fixed, is being fixed to a point in time based on what we've produced, because we don't, as you quite rightly say, we don't know. The rate of change has never happened as fast as it's happening right now. And so the resilience is being called for, the adaptability is being called for, the flexibility is being called for. And those are spiritual gifts. We talk about, the soft skills, in the good old 3D energy soft skill. In 5D energy, there's nothing soft about those skills and acquiring them at all, nothing. And that's where the relevance comes in, is because we're cultivating those higher order 5D skills in being able to adapt to what's going on around us. And that's, it's kind of taking all the nonsense that a normal routine, I mean, things like programs like Notion, where you can set up your brain, your online brain, and have all these things being reminded, all of that stuff, back office stuff being done for you, creating this beautiful space to just be in, and tying back again to the mystic. The mystic is co-creating. It's not only in the darkness, but is there in the space to be revealing what's coming. And
I also think the conscious co-creation, we are consciously co-creating in the space as we're speaking, right? Not everyone out there is consciously co-creating. There's a big difference. Co-creation is so important, but the energy that you're putting out is so important, right? What we put out, the universe will manifest or reinforce. I'd rather use the reinforce. That's the whole co-creation aspect. So I love that this is where we're stepping into. And I love that it's helping us all in our own ways peel away the layers of what's getting in the way,
Yeah.
which is
Yes,
really
because
lovely.
it's frequency, right? And so it's all energy. And what it's forcing us to do is to be present in the moment and feel into the energy in the moment and feel into the flow that's coming through you. And okay, what is it that today we're going to create? Where are we moving with this energy today? And it's going to be very different tomorrow, like we said in the beginning,
Mhm.
where the energies are kind of all over the place. But without letting go of that, knowing that you are the one in the driver's seat. You're co-creating, but you get to decide. So it's not like giving up all control. Okay, universe, show me what to do today. It's like, no, what are we feeling into today? What's the energy feel like today? That is creation energy in the moment that, like you're talking about, Pamela. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Well,
powerful about that is that there's a misconception that the feminine energy is passive. She's
Right.
actually not at all. And it's blowing that kind of myth out of the water. It's this gentle power, and the co-creation that I mean, you know, I think we spoke about it last week around holding that, kind of seeing the gestation of the baby in the womb, and whilst you're holding the space of the baby's doing all it's growing on its own. It's not being, there's nothing we're doing to make it grow. It's growing on its own, and it's that energy as well is moving into that space of allowing, and there's nothing passive about it at all. And so, yeah, it's really cool to be dispelling all these myths around the feminine that are just so not true.
I see it as a divine feminine being in that receiving space, and the divine masculine bringing it into manifestation.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
it's a beautiful balance between the two.
Well, you have to have action in the process of manifestation. Like you can't
Or
just,
what's
again,
the
we talked,
point?
I think we mentioned this before. It's like you can't just sit there and be like, oh, it's going to fall on my lap. There's action and activity in it. And it's like you said, it's not passive. You don't just sit there and receive it. But it's nurturing and it's being compassionate and it's being understanding in the process, right?
It's
you know
about
what?
bringing that balance, right? Of
Yeah.
we're all masculine and feminine energies, right? And I believe it's the feminine that's going to actually bring the men along. It was interesting because we had a gentleman on the call the other day, who's working with energies of a lot of the female deities, and it's just really fascinating. Nice to see that here's this man that's bringing in these energies, right? Stepping into that feminine in a very different way. But I think it's the feminine that's going to allow that to happen more. We're the one that's showing and paving the way,
Yep.
right? And I'm seeing this in couples as well. It's the women that are doing the work and coming along in their consciousness and their spirituality, and men are following suit, right?
And
It's giving that, and it's really beautiful to see them having the permission to do that.
And the interesting thing is that it's happening in community. I mean, this is a community. And look, there's two paintings, Janice, behind you that are catching my eye. The one on the easel, which looks like it's a whole bunch of ladies in a circle, women in a circle. And then the other one on the other side of your head, which looks like it's a bit of a cave or a fire where there's another circle. And so the whole message of, I see you've made mountains on the other one that you had last week where you had those beautiful colors of the sky.
Yes, I do. Actually, I just grabbed this is a beautiful circle of women around water, and it's called Healing the Water. And I pulled it out because I wanted to finish it. But I do have some mountains on the other one. And then this one is women gathering in a teepee. And that is, yeah, I'll have to share some info around that. That's come up. It's interesting that that is catching your eye. 'Cause, yeah, thank you.
I caught both of them too. Share away.
Oh, well, it really like back in 2020, in September of 2020, I was leading a group of women through. We were in the 9th month of a 12-month program, and it was during COVID, so we were all just very tired of meeting on Zoom. And the girls were saying, we need to meet, we need to gather. And we had been doing meditations of gathering in a teepee. And the one girl said, we need to gather in a teepee. We need our own teepee. And I said, well, that sounds like a plan. So I was on an acreage at that time, and I thought, yeah, that feels really good. And I went out into my yard, and I took a video for them of me saying, ladies, this is our declaration to the universe that we need a teepee, and this is where it will go. Like we will put it up and we will gather. And that image of women gathering in a teepee, like I've channeled in the grandmothers many times, and they came in very, very powerfully at that time, saying women are the creators. They are the ones that hold the power, that will be stepping up and hold the power for creation energy, bringing it in and through the womb space. This is the power we hold. But we need to do the work to be ready to hold that power, to be in reverence, to be humble, to get the ego under control, the emotional intelligence, matured, so that we can use that for good and creation in the world. And it was very much a like, yes, you're going to figure out the manifestation. You're going to be able to manifest whatever you want, but there's something more here that we need to be aware of. And what happened then was one of the girls in the group sent me an image of this company in Manitoba that was having a draw for a teepee. It was a fundraiser. And I started laughing. I'm like, who has a draw for a teepee? Like right after we've been talking about it, I'm like, I'm buying a ticket. And she said, nope, I already bought you one. Merry Christmas. I think it was November. And she said, Merry Christmas. So it was September 21st when I posted, we declare that we are going to have a teepee. And the draw was for December 21st. Of course, it was a First Nations company. And we won first prize. We won a 21-foot teepee. And so I have this teepee, and in the process of getting it, it took a year for them to make it and send it to us. It was a long process. And in that time, my husband and I decided we were going to downsize. And, I hadn't heard the teepee was coming, what's going on. And we thought, I cannot worry about where we're living and putting a teepee. So I have this teepee for 2 years now in my garage, and I had a powerful dream 2 nights ago. My dreams the last couple nights have been blown up, but I had a powerful dream 2 nights ago, and we are in the 3rd or 4th month of a new group of women gathering together in our community, this group of women that are all leaders, and we take turns leading this circle. It's a circle of 8, and it's just like profound to me that this circle of women has come back together locally. And now I had this dream from the grandmothers 2 nights ago that they invited me into their community in the dream. They anointed me, and then she came into my teepee. I had slept in it all night, but I had tried to put it up by myself and I couldn't. So it was kind of dilapidated, but it was enough that I could crawl in and sleep in. This is still in my dream. She came in the morning and sat with me, and she didn't care that it wasn't put up properly. And that's what's been holding me back from putting it up, is we've been trying to gather elders and First Nations people to be there with us. Well, that can be very tricky because they go on a different schedule. But anyways, the clarity from the dream was like, she didn't care how it was put up, just put it up and get gathering. And so
Yes.
that is happening within the next month or so. We're getting it up on one of the girls' properties, and yeah, because there's not space on mine anymore, we downsized. So she's she's got an acreage, so we're going to go put it up in her acreage and get our gathering going. And that is what's so important right now, is just gather.
Yes.
Yeah. So
What we're
long
doing
story,
here.
but thank you for listening.
No, that's beautiful. And just shows exactly, like you said, following that intuition, putting it out there, and how that can be created, right?
Yeah.
Co-creation at its
And
finest.
that's funny because for 3 months now I have a big fire pit on our property, and I've been talking about a beautiful sharing kind of circle. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but on starting in the warm weather, and it's sharing in a way that everybody's bringing something to the table. So I don't want it to be where it's one leader. I want it to be where everybody starts to have a voice and allows them to step into their own in a very different way. I don't know how it's going to be facilitated yet, but I do know for me that's always been important. Circles have always been great from a sharing perspective. There's such value in learning from one another, not just one leader, because it's that element of too many people play small and hide. And so giving that space and that opportunity that they can have a voice and talk about their experiences and bounce back and forth. So I'm really looking forward to that. And my partner, when you saw me kind of blow a kiss there, he brought me a sandwich. So he's like nurturing me and taking care of me while I'm doing these things. And I know he will do the same thing for these fires. Like it's the space that we have a little over half acre. And it's very, many people come here and go, it's so healing. So it's peaceful. It's in the middle of nowhere, basically. And so I look forward to being able to do that. But this has been about 3 months that I've been talking about it.
Incredible.
We organized this. We just said, come and find out more. 8 of us showed up, and we decided that was it. We weren't going to keep it open. We are gathering the 8 of us, and we have had an amazing, the one girl walked us through a labyrinth evening. We had fingerboard labyrinths. Last night, the other girl does drumming circles, so we had a drumming, and I brought my crystal bowls. And if you have never had drumming with crystal bowls, you need to try it. Like,
oh my God.
where we opened a portal, like we both kind of went, I don't know, will crystal bowls go with the regular drumming circles? I've never done that before. No, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it would fit. Well, the tone underneath the drumming was absolutely magical. So you need to try it.
Mhm.
Sounds wonderful.
I was going to say, oh yeah, the thought that came to mind. I've done a kind of fair amount of studying around some of the principles in 12-step recovery. And one of the things that they talk about is our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. And Pamela, that's what you're talking about, being in that fires where everybody has the opportunity to step up into the sense of their own true sovereignty, and in being sovereign are leaders, as opposed to the old energy of our leaders born or made, and that whole debate, which is very much in the 3D energies. Everybody has the ability and the opportunity to be able to grow into the leader that they are, whether they are homemakers, they're still leading children, as opposed to being minimized because all you're doing is running a home. No, you're growing the next generation. And again, if you put it into the context of the First Nations teachings, it's a completely different look at the role of women and how women are so revered in First Nation circles as the co-creators, as the birthers of the new generation. And it's beautiful. When we own our space, it's beautiful.
Yes. And it's also that element of being of service, no matter where you are, right? No matter what your job title is, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, you are truly being of service of the divine.
Yes.
Right? Too many people minimize their roles.
Whether you're a cleaner, if you're a cleaner.
I'm a cleaner. Yes, but you're being of service. Like,
right.
When you embrace it from that angle and see the beauty in what you're bringing to the table for other human beings, boy, oh boy, it's magical.
Changes the game completely.
And opening up space, right? Like of being able to, no matter what service you're in, you're opening up space for somebody to do, again, the same thing as AI. It's giving us the opportunity to do the doing so that the other person can be in the being, right? But they're being of service in that experience.
And we're of service in return when we honor and respect people who take on roles like the cleaning roles, the security guard roles, the so-called menial,
Yes.
minimalist type of work.
Mhm.
When we honor who they are for the fact that that's what the services that they're providing us to create space for us, then we start to change the whole nature of the way in which we engage.
All of a sudden, nothing is menial.
Right.
Nothing.
There is spirit and honor in everything.
Absolutely.
Is
Delicious.
yes.
I was going to go back to what Pam said earlier to kind of jump back on the subject of the feminine and us, like the feminine bringing in the energy and then the masculine supporting it and manifesting it. It was interesting, and about how you said there's, it's that women that are coming in and then the men are following from that leadership role, coming back to that. But I have a client who is very much in this space of, we had this conversation of, well, his ideal client is a woman. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel like, because he's a healed masculine, right? So it's like, what if the feeling or the thought that came through for him was like, what if because you are working with women, you're opening up the space for them and for the men to come in? And because you're already creating that connection, and it was like, we even discussed about that being an offer for him. Like, it was just, and he's like, oh, I never even thought about that. But it was just like, again, this is what that feminine is bringing in the opportunity and leading in that way. So it makes it not safe, but it creates an opportunity of like, oh, maybe I can do that too, right?
Well, it's interesting that you're speaking about that, Alana, because that gentleman is selling himself short if he's just working with women.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a whole other conversation there, but yeah, that wasn't the whole conversation.
But because of that fact of opening it up to the men, right? We need those men who are already there showing other men the way.
Exactly.
And I think it's so beautiful. And that's what I mean about the selling himself short, right? Great, he's getting out there, but women are safe. I'm going to be honest, women are safe. We're ready for this. We're living it, a lot of us, more and more all the time. But it's really stepping into, okay, let me be this divine masculine, stepping into the maybe not so healthy divine masculine and showing them a different way.
Yeah,
without judgment, right? Oh my God, that is incredible. I love hearing that. Because for so long it's been about empowering women. And I'm like, wait a minute, we got to bring these guys along.
Yeah. Right? And he's very much been in the and I don't need to get into his story, but he's, exactly.
Oh, but I do say that there's still a lot of women that are like, yes, stepping into their empowerment, but they have a lot of wounds that are coming out, the sisterhood wounds, and they haven't emotionally regulated, because when you're younger, you've got that hormonal imbalance, like craziness going on. And if you don't learn how to emotionally regulate that emotional intelligence, then you're all over the place and you're not using your power for good. And so I just have to throw that in there.
Yeah, mastering the emotions is absolutely right. I was working with a woman earlier who was late in diagnosis for autism. And she's an incredible woman. Like, she's mastered her emotions. She goes out into business. She can handle things, right? Family, it's a little bit different, right? Because the wounds. And that's why she's coming. But I'm telling you, it is incredible when you see someone standing in their power and actually mastering their emotions and being able to reflect that back to them, which she never really thought about. She walked away from a situation feeling confused because she's not used to someone seeing her and valuing her within the business. She's used to the fight every step of the way, and she's not in that fight at all anymore. And it's just happening for her. And it's so beautiful to be able to reflect that to people, right? That awareness sometimes is missing.
It's
So yeah,
Yeah, it's so interesting for me that we're having this conversation, particularly around the sacred masculine and the divine feminine being the Easter weekend and utilizing the archetype and the archetypical energies of the crucifixion and the resurrection. And we're talking about what do we want to leave at the foot of the cross, figuratively and archetypically speaking, in terms of the old energies of the submissive feminine and the out of balance masculine. And what do we want to resurrect? We want to be able to be in that balance within ourselves of both our own gentle power as the feminine and being powerfully gentle as the masculine energy. And also that work that you're talking about with Alana, with that, how the more conscious masculine, as in the male body masculine energy, is leading in the same way that we're leading in the feminine, leading in the masculine, and then the two come together. And for me, that's a lot around the symbolism of the energy of the Easter story and the Easter celebration, because it brings us into a higher level of the Christ consciousness, which is in balance.
Yes. I love that. And Janice, it's funny that you say that you mentioned, you know, the wounded or the women wounds and stuff like that. And I know we're not here to promote, but literally what came through for me 2 months ago is because I host a virtual event every 3 months. This May, we're doing the women's wounds one specifically around healing the mother wound and the sisterhood wound.
Oh,
And it's just like I'm just so excited for this to come through because of the need for, like, I felt that so much in the last few months, and I'm just so excited every time I like start doing material and stuff around it and get like rounding out the information. I'm just so excited for this moment, like literally.
Well, and I was just thinking that maybe that's a topic we can dive into in our
Yes.
next one is some of those wounds. Maybe that's something people watching might like to have. So if you're watching this and you think, yeah, let's go there, then just put that in the comments that you would like that. That would be very helpful just to, uncover those wounds, because a lot of times we don't even realize, but we didn't know any better. We were told to behave this way, and there's so much competition between women because, the prettiest one in the room wins type of thing, or the wounds that, you were told you can't do this, or there's so many wounds that we could talk about and just bring some light to for people to become more aware. And even the manipulation, like how we manipulate men and use our emotions to manipulate them, like start crying or, it's
well,
to
and the mother wound runs deep. I see it in the office, both with men and women. It's really, I can see how the mother wound is really the catalyst for bringing us into where we are today, to be honest, right? With regards to the growth and the spiritual understanding. I'm not saying that there are God wounds too, but it seems to be the mother wound is the deepest and the more long lasting. And it's pushing men to move into their emotions that they have suppressed for so many years, right? It's just been really fascinating to see that. So I think, yeah, these topics would be really amazing.
Totally, because it's the mother that you. Sorry,
there's a lot to be said as well around the male wound, in the sense that, you probably see it a lot in the US, but we certainly see it here. And that's the PTSD that so many men are walking around with, that is completely undiagnosed, untreated, not even aware of, and how that father wound is then, again, it's like this convoluted, it impacts on the mother wound, and the mother wound impacts on the father wound, and it just goes in this cyclical energy of really untreated PTSD in terms of what the wounds have actually catalyzed for so many people.
And that, a lot of self-abuse.
And that PTSD, when it's brought into the light, brings about the healing, whether we're talking about the maternal wound, the mother wound, or we're talking about the father wound. And it's the acknowledgement. The denial, the level of denial around people walking around with, because it's cauterized for so many people, they can't even step into that energy because it's just too painful for them. So they block it out.
Yeah. But we can help bring it to their awareness.
where we're holding space. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, and I'm happy to share this with you, Alana, as well. I ran a healing circle. It was in COVID, and we had an online conference, and there was 13 people, 13 women. Of the 13 women that were on the call, 11 had gone through some form of sexual abuse, from molestation to rape. A woman in the conference, for the first time in 20 years, felt safe enough in that space to speak about the fact that she'd been raped. She'd never spoken about it in 20 years.
Mhm.
It was mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. So happy to share that information with you to see if it can. And it was also, it stimulated when you're talking about the teepee with the moon lodge, the grandmothers and the mothers and the maidens going in during their moon time into the moon lodge
Mm-hmm.
and presenting the divine feminine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Love it. Just love this energy. It's just beautiful.
Mhm. And if there's any other, like you said, Janice, if anybody, as anybody watching, if there's any other topics that you wanted us to touch on, like, I think I would love to have that deeper conversation around the women wounds, maybe next week or something. But if anybody's watching and has any other thoughts or things that we'd like to have us to have a conversation around, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Yep.
And we
Yeah.
also are talking about doing a live session. So what are you guys thinking about that?
Yes,
Yeah. I would love that.
yes.
Right.
Maybe like the first or the last or the something
Maybe we should
Friday.
do it around the solstices and the equinoxes, the live session.
Hmm.
That's a good idea too. That
Absolutely.
would be
We
that
do
would be
June 21st.
May. Yeah, is it the 23rd?
It's June 21, the summer solstice.
Oh,
for you
sorry.
guys.
Yeah. May.
Summer
I know
solstice
that.
for you guys and the winter solstice for us. And I get excited because from the day after that, the days start getting longer.
May 20th
Yes.
or June 20th, I should say. It's or did we want to have one before that? Or
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, that's a little ways away, but we could definitely go for that one in June.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Moon cycles or thoughts?
Full moons.
Moons hit the dates.
Full moons.
Well,
Well,
we have Mother's Day on the 10th. Like we could do May 9th and talk about the mother wounds.
that's the same weekend we're doing a big free event. So
Are you?
yeah,
Uh,
but we could still do the 9th.
yeah.
You could, people
Whatever.
could
Just pick a
dive
day.
people
Pick
could
a
then
day
dive-
that works.
and people could then dive into a free event over the weekend from
Yeah.
our call.
Of course. Cool.
Mhm.
So let's so do we want to do a live on the 9th then?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Sure.
Beautiful.
my-
Done.
Interestingly enough, it's my late mom's birthday on the 11th. So yeah, very fit.
Aw,
Oh, that's awesome.
that is
She always
amazing.
used to fight about the fact that Mother's Day was nothing. She said, first off, Mother's Day should be every day of the year. But she always used to get quite salty because Mother's Day and her birthday were like together. So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's for me too. I have the same thing. It always gets put together. And I go, that's not fair because your dad gets his
Oh.
birthday and Father's Day.
You should have a 6-month birthday then.
Right? Yeah,
Mhm.
I should do that.
Happy your birthday. I had my son on Mother's Day. He's always my gift every year. So it worked out for me. One of the two.
Oh, nice. Nice. So the focus is on his birthday too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I keep
there's,
reminding him it's my gift.
there's something else that's been coming up for me that we can also flag. And that is, it's been coming up quite a lot. I mean, I've been on that journey, but the whole question of also how we can support single moms. Because they really, really struggle. They are, and on every level. I mean, the financial stuff and the financial abuse that goes on for so many of them, and how we can hold space for them, because they really are. I mean, I did it for, and it's not about me, it's just, it's coming up more and more and more, just how many women are really struggling as single moms.
Mhm.
Yeah, having to stay with families, and yeah, it's tough in this
About
day.
wounds. We talk about those, that's a whole nother subset almost of wounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I will not be here next week. I am traveling next week, so I unfortunately will miss you guys.
Where are you
Um,
going? Where are you
I'm
traveling to?
just going to Ontario. It's just across the country, but it is my father is 86 and I need to go spend some time with him
Good for you.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
family. Yes, you just don't put those things off. So that is my plan. I will be in Ontario on the 25th when we meet. So I'll have to listen to the recording to get caught up. I don't want to
I
miss.
I actually have somebody I'm working with has an event that day, so I was wondering if we wanted to either do earlier or later, or somebody else wants to host.
I can do earlier.
I could probably do a little earlier. Just give me
Yeah,
the time.
even an hour earlier would work better.
Okay.
Pick
Oh,
your
Early.
and if it's a moment in Ontario when I can come on, I will. So you're looking at, it's
Noon.
1 p.m. for you guys, right? 11, 12.
Yep.
So noon.
Yeah.
And it'll be 6 p.m. for me.
Okay.
What do you do on your Friday nights? I connect with the most amazing
With some
people
Canadians, crazy Canadians.
on the other side of the world. That's what I do. That's my Friday night date night.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we love it.
Date night. I love it. My
Um,
date.
I had mentioned to you ladies, I got this little deck of Living Light.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I pulled one of these whenever we got on, and it's I am loved today.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought I would share
Love
that message with you.
thank
Thank
you.
You know you're loved,
Thank you.
Yes.
or if you
It's-
want to pass it on.
There we go. Okay.
Amazing.
All right,
What a
ladies.
great conversation, ladies. Thank
Hey.
you.
Of course.
Nice.
Thank
And Alana,
you.
thanks again for all the work that you do to put it up on YouTube.
All good.
Mm-hmm.
Have a
All right.
beautiful week, and we will see you all next week.
Happy
There you go.
Easter, everybody.
Yes.
Have a wonderful Easter weekend. Bye for
Yes,
now.
it is. Bye.
Bye.